Hello and welcome back, fellow soldiers, to this Corona Friday afternoon. It is the end of the week and that means we get a new developers briefing. And this week is already the 72nd developers briefing that we're getting. And all I can say to this week's developers briefing is hats off. Yeah, very bad pun intended. This week's developers briefing features some information about armor balance and fixes, also some new hats and also character customization. So we'll soon be able to run around like unicorns on the battlefield, have a glowing nose or a pink uniform. Hopefully not, but let's see what the devs are telling us. Customization for us as a dev team is a way of illustrating the veterancy of the player, as well as offering some ability to add personality and character to your in-game soldier, in addition to enabling you to form historical units with friends. Throughout development, we'll continue to add new options to each of the three categories, as well as potentially add a fourth accessory category. We want to reward long-time players with interesting options, as well as create seasonal unlocks to celebrate different historical events. We're also looking at ways of adding prizes for tournaments and other game-wide competitions. Specifically, we want to touch quickly on the hats. We felt that many of the faces and hats in-game were quite gormless or bland. While we're a small team, we always try and push the envelope on each aspect of the game. To that end, our amazing character artist Dmitry has done a lovely job of giving far more character and personality to each hat. And up here on the screen you should see now a picture that sums up all the changes that will come to the soldiers' faces that we can choose from, that Dmitry made for us, for the community, and implemented in the game. I think he's done more than just a lovely job. It's just amazing if you compare the faces also with the helmets and with the uniforms to the faces or personalities in the soldiers that we had before. So I'm really looking forward to this feature being added, and I'm very pleased to hear that the devs are still continuing to work on historical representation inside the game. So of course it won't be possible to color your soldier in pink color or wear a unicorn helmet on the battlefield like it probably is possible on a battlefield in PUBG or somewhere else. But as we get it from each and every developer's briefing, the devs are really focused on historical representation, and I think that's what we all really like and enjoy and appreciate from this game. And I think with such amazing artists like Dmitry is one, obviously, as you can see on the pictures, historically accurate games, especially war games, can also be made interesting, and soldiers can get a lot of personality without having a unicorn on one's head. Now, I also want to point out one feature that the devs will implement when it comes to character customization, and that is that it will be unlocked by specific levels. So that means if you climb up the ladder of levels, your character will be displayed as far more grizzled than a fresh-faced rookie, as the devs say. So if you are on a higher level, your character will most probably have more scars in the face, look much more war-torn than a very fresh level 1 soldier, and I think that can add a lot of reality to the battlefield and will look very cool when we can finally see it on the battlefield. And as you heard in the introduction made by the devs that I've read to you, they also want to implement a fourth category, and that is accessories for each soldier. And those accessories will range from pipes to cigarillos to spectacles and all the way to motorcycle goggles the developers write. And I think that will be very interesting how the players will look like. I hope the realism, if you want to call it that, will still be there, so it won't be just something funny to wear. I want it to really fit into the whole war atmosphere, but from what we've got from the devs, I think that won't be a problem. They'll do a perfect job in implementing those accessories to create historically accurate appearances, and that's also what they write in the last sentence concerning the character customizations. They write, "We don't want to create absurd appearances, but more a spectrum of different sides that a soldier may have seen amidst the fighting." And from there, the developers go on to the new headwear options that will be coming to the German forces after the update number 6, and these will include some very nice hats that you can see now in 3 different options. On the last one, you'll also see a swastika on the head. In the developers briefing, the devs write that the final model will have that icon scuffed and disfigured so as not to fully display it. They will look at implementing unscuffed versions per territory at a later date, they write. In my opinion, I honestly don't like it if such emblems get scruffed or disfigured, because it's a game that should represent how reality was back then, and we won't get cancer by just looking at a swastika. It just is historically accurate to see one. So in my honest opinion, and that's just me, I would really like to see the historically correct representation of a German soldier, but that's up to the devs. And I think also up to the most part of the community, since the devs are also listening a lot to the input of the community. But let's be honest, I won't start a fight because of seeing or not seeing a swastika. In the end, it's just a very small detail, and I think we should mainly focus on the new hats that will come that also look very cool. Now, next up, the devs move to the next topic and the final topic of this week's developers briefing, and that is armor balance and fixes. And I think I leave the word here to what the devs have written to us. We are currently aware of several issues facing armor within Hell Let Loose. The topic is a huge one and something we're keen to properly deal with. At present, the team has been hugely busy with continued large-scale infrastructure updates, ballistics overhaul, engine upgrade, animation overhaul, to name a few, that we need to have finalized as soon as possible. However, we want to assure you that we'll be returning to the topic of armor more broadly in the near future. Working with our fantastic dedicated communities, we have a giant hit list of design issues, bugs, and feature additions or changes. We want to let you know that we'll be turning our giant development Eye of Sauron to these as soon as we're clear of the most significant infrastructure upgrades. Even in revisiting the initial wheeled vehicle physics model, we discovered many aspects were able to be refined, and so we are excited to tackle many of the following issues. And of the following list, I won't read everything to you, that's just some I picked out of them. In total, there are 22, if I counted correctly. You can always check out the briefing on Steam yourself, and I always include the link to the briefing down in the description too. So the most interesting changes I think that they've implemented in that 22 characters list are, first, that barbed wire should not stop a tank and that a tank should be able to pass through. I think that has been a huge issue on the battlefield, since the battlefields that we've got for now have a lot of barbed wire around and the tanks just got stuck everywhere. If it wasn't in a ditch, it was on a barbed wire. So I'm happy that the devs have seen that this is a problem, and I'm very happy that they will solve it in the near future. Next, very interesting one on the list that I think is important to be mentioned is the turret rotation needs to be different for each tank. And they write, this is starting to be implemented as of update 6. We also feel stabilizers need to be added to appropriate tanks. So we now know that they will adjust the speed of turret rotation in the update 6, and I'm very, very happy for this one. The next 2 points are especially good for the AT guys. The points say armor under tank needs to be light to allow an AT guy to kill when we crest slowly. And the second point says armor on top also needs to be light for AT to kill from windows. And I think that's just historically accurate and should be implemented. I think and have a feel that this could be implemented as soon as update 6. That's just speculation by me, but I think it's an important thing, especially because we have a lot of houses that we can climb or shoot out from on the maps. So that will be a very important and strategic important thing. Next also concerns the tanks, and that is especially the tank crew, because they want to implement better camera movement in vehicles' interior positions, so it doesn't feel like your head is locked. That will also add to more realism and will be very cool, I think. For now, if you've been playing in a tank, your head was just like looking straight and you couldn't move at all, and you were limited by the slow speed of the turret going around. So I think that will be a nice implementation. And the tank crew is also getting additional uniforms, so that we are finally able to distinguish between the driver, the commander, and also the gunner. So that will also be very cool and will add more variety to the battlefield. And aside to the variety on the battlefield, we will also see that the tank crew will be able to fix the tracks of a tank. So if your track gets destroyed, the tank crew will be able to fix that, or one member of the tank crew that's not fixed yet, but there will be a solution because the engineers weren't doing that often, let's be honest. I tried to do it when I was close to a tank, but usually there's just no engineer inside. So I think that will be a very useful feature that will be added in the future. And also tying directly into the tank stuff that we have talked about right now is that they want to implement smoke canisters. And how I understand it, this will be that a tank will be able to fire smoke to do like a smoke shield, or just to be able to drive away safely. That's how I understand it. They just wrote implementation of smoke canisters, but I'm pretty sure that's what they meant. And I think this will also add a lot of tactical realism to the whole tanking scenario if you're finally able to get your tank out of a precarious situation, or if your tank helps the squad or the team to build up a defensive smoke wall just to be able to retreat or to attack. Now, that's been it for this week's developers briefing number 72, if I remember correctly. I hope you all enjoyed. If you are still listening, I saw that over 70% of the people that listen to my videos or watch my videos aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you have a free subscribe left in your pocket, feel free to leave one with my channel. Upvote the video if you liked the content, that would be very nice. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna see each other on the battlefield.